Good morning, Zio here, and today we're talking Activision Blizzard and Bobby Kotick himself. So, grab yourself some coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get into it, shall we? And as always, I have a Twitter and a TikTok. You should go check those out. Links are in the description down below. But today we talk Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, and Bobby Kotick, who is over the whole thing. He is the Activision top part of the pyramid. That's the words that can't escape my mouth, right? So, yeah, things get worse, right? So we've talked about a lot of things lately. You had that Activision Blizzard lawsuit that went out that covered Activision Blizzard and another thing from Activision as well. And all this other stuff. But what we really hadn't heard from, we hadn't really heard this stuff here. So the Wall Street Journal, released a scathing article not that long ago that Bobby, of course, has responded to. We'll go over that, whatnot. But apparently it alleges several forms of allegations from the man himself, the big guy. Now, if we're going to talk about good things that Bobby has done, there's not much, right? I mean, there's a joke about Bobby needing to, buy another yacht and stuff going around out there because, that's how it goes. But he did recently skip over or reduce his pay, actually, if I remember correctly. I was going to say skip over his pay hike for the year, but he reduced his pay to pay more back to the employees, and that's all good and well. Of course, Activision and Blizzard have been working to making things better around the company for employees because of all the stuff that recently came out. Of course, whether or not there were talks before that thing came out, before the lawsuit hit or whatnot, we really don't know outside of what they said, but we don't really know the truth. A lot of employees have pretty much said, came out, said their thing, and was like, we need, people need to work on doing things better, and I guess they're working in that vein now, right? But Jennifer ONeill, who recently was the co-head of Blizzard Entertainment, right? Activision Blizzard, who also recently retired from that. Wasn't even in for like a month or two, right? So when it was told that we had these two co-heads of Blizzard, I made this thing saying, I think this is a good idea, right? You've got one guy who actively plays one of the games that they're in charge of, who knows a lot of stuff about it, who, might be more receptive to player feedback, unlike Blizzard developers and whatnot. Who might be able to make an impact on the game side, right? A lot more. Meanwhile, you've got Jennifer ONeill here, who seems to be more of, she was coming from the Vicarious Vision sort of thing. She had worked her way up through the ranks and was more of the business-oriented type, right? Or at least that's the feeling that she gives off when you talk, or not talk to her, but when you hear her talk and see what she's doing and stuff. And I thought that was going to be a great thing. And then it all fell apart, right? She, of course, announced that she will now be leaving the company. However, she will be staying with the company long enough, essentially as sort of a consultant type deal, long enough for her nonprofit that she's on the board of to get a ton of money. We're talking, I think, was it $1 million or something like that? That they spontaneously have laying around to give to that organization that she, of course, is, on the board of, because why not, right? So things feel a bit sketch here and there, and we naturally can't talk about the sketch that much because it could be considered a conspiracy theory and all this other stuff, even though everything points to one thing or the other. But the Wall Street Journal did do this thing, and apparently Jennifer ONeill did make a comment on it, right? And she makes this comment that the following month she sent an email to members of Activision's legal team, in which she professed a lack of faith in Activision leadership to turn the culture around, saying it was clear that the company would never prioritize our people the right way. Now, when we originally talked about Jen leaving, and she wrote, or she said her PR piece essentially when she was leaving, it was one of those things. Is she leaving because she's like literally has no faith in Blizzard or Activision turning around? Actually, I mean, they say they're doing X, Y, and Z, but are they actually doing X, Y, and Z, right? And and since she's in there, she would know more than the rest of us. But of course, her PR speak when she did leave was like, oh, they're righting the ship and all this other stuff. Well, turns out we were right. They are not. Or at least she doesn't feel that they are. And of course, she has moved on to better pastures, especially with the absorption of Vicarious Visions, losing its identity altogether and now becoming something else in the Activision name. But we have all these things. Now, when it comes down to it, I want to believe that this stuff is true, right? Because we've seen Bobby Kotick for years. We've seen his decisions, what he's done, seen things that have been leaked and other stuff. And, it sounds like this stuff could be really true. The problem is, of course, it's the Wall Street Journal. We've also seen a lot of mainstream press and other stuff like that over the past several years completely lie and take things out of context when it comes to politicians. And if it wasn't for the fact that there was actual video that you could, look at and find out that what they're trying to paint a picture of in these, in these places like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Post and all these other places, was completely and utterly wrong, because if you actually watch the video itself, it tells a completely different story, right? That was not actually said the way they portrayed it to be. So there's always that portion of me that is like, I don't know what to believe, right? Like, there's no hard evidence, no hard proof, which makes it really, really hard to, really believe some of these things at the same time. And of course, some things are so outlandish, it's really hard to believe that anyone in their right mind would allow something to go on. But apparently, they've got the story of a flight attendant, Cynthia, who apparently sued Kotick for wrongful termination in 2017 after being fired in response to her misconduct allegations against apparently the pilot Phil, right? Although the story was given very little attention at the time, it apparently resurfaced in 2010 due to some kind of legal dispute between Kotick and his original legal counsel, and where he wound up paying out over $1.5 million to his former employee or former attorneys. And then, of course, there's another one, which apparently the testimony no longer exists, where Kotick was apparently, quote, saying, "I'm going to destroy you," which, of course, is the headline that everybody was posting on YouTube, right? The "I will destroy you." And I probably will quote it too, because it sounds really good, right? It's a great soundbite. Rather than settle with the defendant, which is very similar to the LA Times blog from 2010, in which apparently arbitrators recorded that Mr. Kotick wanted to destroy the other side and not to pay Cynthia anything. Apparently, Kotick realized that this was not good for good business proposition, and said that he was worth $500 million and he didn't mind spending some of it on attorney's fees. So whether or not he actually said "I will destroy you," or whether he said that he was worth $1.5 billion, didn't mind spending it on attorney fees, is where it goes up in the air, because apparently the testimony and stuff doesn't actually exist anymore. So we can't actually look back, and there's no video, there's no recording. We don't actually know what was properly said, unfortunately. But apparently, in another meeting with the same arbitrator, recounted that Mr. Kotick said that he would never be extorted and that he would ruin the plaintiff and her attorneys to see if that Miss Madvig would never work again. Now, all right, that actually does sound a lot like you could say, well, I'm going to destroy you. So yeah, regardless of how you say it, it has the same meaning to it, right? The problem, of course, is the people who were doing all these reportings and stuff, and all this other nonsense, of course. But back in 2010, it does sound like it's more of a believable thing that would have been said, especially when you got somebody who's high off his own fumes. Yeah, best thing I could go with. But yeah, so that's a thing. Anyway, while these claims were disputed by the attorneys, Anthony Glassman, who said both the final award and appellate options contain numerous secondhand account and 3-year-old private conversations and statements made during attorney-client meetings that Mr. Kotick did not make, and therefore are inaccurate, highly inflammatory, and taken out of context, which of course could also be true. So, in other words, all this information here became a thing 3 years after the fact, right? It was 3 years after the fact from private things that may or may not have been true or whatnot. And yeah, we've seen the state of the world. We know how these things work. I'm not trying to defend Kotick, but at the same time, unless you can produce me an actual text message or a voicemail or something for me to listen to, I can't 100% take it as truthful. Of course, the next part of this was about voicemails and stuff, because apparently he in 2006, one of his assistants complained he had harassed her, including by threatening in voicemail to have her deleted, according to people familiar with the matter. Gosh, I hate that sentence. He settled the matter out of court. The people said, right? The familiar people with the matter, who probably are not familiar with anything at all. But yeah, an Activision spokeswoman did say that Mr. Kotick quickly apologized 16 years ago for the obviously hyperbolic and inappropriate voicemail, and he deeply regrets the exaggeration and tone in his voicemail to this day, which of course actually sounds like it's true. So, even though I'm not a fan of, according to people familiar with the matter, and they probably have no idea what they're talking about, apparently in this instance, they probably have everything. They actually know what they're talking about, right? Especially when you've got Activision spokeswoman saying, yeah, he did, and he apologized for it 16 years ago. He's so sorry about it. Anyway, Kotick did respond to it. They were not happy with it. Of course, this is probably not Kotick himself. It's probably more like the PR team or whatnot. But yeah, that happened too. So I will let you read this out, because I'm not going to read the entire thing. It's one, I can't read, and we all know I can't read at this point. I read things backwards for some reason. And I have a lot of things to record and not a lot of time to do it in today. So with all that, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will talk to you later. See ya.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.